Okay, our sermon for today it's entitled a reason for the season. This is a reason for the season. You know, we're in a season now where people are starting to realize, more about, why they're here, what their purpose is. They're trying to find, a niche in life through their experiences, that they've had here. And that's really how God prepares you, is that he gives you experiences through life, and you learn wisdom through the knowledge of these experiences. And when you gain that wisdom, you can apply it to your life. And it's really to help you through the rest of your life. And not only that, it's really designed for you to have the experience to help other people through what they're going through. Whatever you're going through, if you survived it, that was a learning experience. Whether you think it was a mistake you made that took you down that road, or a mistake you made while you were on the road to go wherever you were going, whatever happened to you was a learning experience. And if you don't learn the experience, if you don't get the message, if you don't receive the memo, then you're destined to experience it over and over and over again. And usually in these experiences, when the life experiences get really serious, there's not a whole lot of help for you. But when you're in the eye of the storm, people panic. And the storm is raging, the lightning's coming down, and the thunder's clapping, and the clouds are dark, and it's dreary weather, and people are running for their lives, and you're in a panic. But when that happens, my best advice to you, and everybody is going to go through a storm. Some storms are going to be more torrential than other storms. Some storms are going to require you to have to swim. Some storms are going to require you to have to run. Some storms are going to require you to have to jump or duck. But God will give you instructions on how to weather this storm, but you have to stop and listen. You have to open your eyes. You have to look at your surroundings. You have to see what's going on around you so you can understand why you're in this storm. You have to comprehend why you're in this storm. You have to understand what brought you to this point in your life. And that's what life is all about. It's a learning experience. It's a training day. Everybody's here to learn. And you can have a little fun while you're here, and enjoy life a little bit, smell the roses, breathe the air, drink the coffee, but follow the Lord, because the Lord's got a path for you. He's got you on a journey. It's a life experience, one like no other. Everybody has an individual experiences, and sometimes our experiences overlap with each other, but it's still an individual experience that's designed exactly for you. Nobody is going to go through exactly what you went through. Some people are going to have, like I said, parallel experiences. Some people are going to have something in common with what you went through, but nobody is going to go through exactly what you went through, because nobody is designed by God exactly like you are. Look at your fingerprints. Who else has an exact print like you? Nobody. Not even a twin. Twins have different fingerprints. There's something different about each and every one of us. And if we learn that and understand that, and we combine our experiences within a group of people, we have a multitude of weapons in our arsenal in which to fight the devil and get through this life. That's what this congregation is all about. All of us come from different places. All of us come through different experiences. All of us have different life paths that they've traveled, but it all led us to this place at this time, doing this thing for this reason. So let's come together and let's combine these experiences, and let's be stronger. Let's be more powerful. And the most important thing about all this, besides the respect and fear and love of God that we have, is that we have to teach this diligently to our children. They have to be the beneficiary for our experience. They have to be the one that the keeping of the teachings of our forefathers and our ancestors must be secure in their keeping. We have to make sure that happens. This is our watch. No matter who screwed up before and no matter who's going to screw up later, right now, right this minute, it's our turn to make sure that these children learn what they need. It's our turn to make sure that these traditions are deeply instilled in what they do and how they feel and how their minds work and how they respond to things, so that it can be a perpetual, continuous process, just like this covenant that we have entered into with God. You know, when I talk about that covenant that we're entered into with God, I always think about how technically that's a really exclusive covenant, and God has many covenants with many groups of people from many cultures, but the similarities in the covenants are the same. A solid foundation, solid family, solid upbringing, solid teachings, diligently passing it on, generational, walking towards the light and not towards the dark, doing the good and not the evil, the positive, not the negative. And he has a covenant through Jesus. He has a covenant through Allah. He has a covenant through the Buddha. There's a whole lot of covenants God has, but this one in particular is through the children of Israel, and God was very specific about the instructions he gave on how we were to follow this and how we were to apply this to our lives. We're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. We're supposed to be teaching and helping and guiding and showing. We're the light that are at people's feet, that light the road to salvation. We lead by example. We don't just run our mouths and talk the talk. We walk our legs and walk the walk. That's why in church they prance. All through the ceremony, they're prancing because they're marching through the desert. They're showing people the path. They're showing people the way. They're showing people the guiding light, how to get to God's salvation, how to be in the palm of his hand, in the comfort of his warmth. God will never leave you comfortless. So like I said, there's a reason for the season. And this is time for everybody to gather the wisdom from the experiences they're going through and apply it to their lives and apply it to other people's lives. And like I always say, and I'm going to say this again, and I just came from Virginia on this plane. Every time I get on a plane, it reminds me of what I'm about to say. In case of loss of cabin pressure, the air mask will drop down. Please secure your air mask first before you help anybody else. Does everybody understand what that means? That means make sure you got it right before you try to teach it to somebody else. Make sure you know what you're talking about before you talk to somebody else about this. Make sure you have a clear understanding of what God's intentions are for us before you try to put this on somebody else. Make sure you got the right message. Make sure you read the memo correctly. Make sure that the email you're in that feed. Make sure that you know what you're doing. And once we're all on the same page about what we're doing, we're unstoppable. This is the truth. This is real. And people say all the time, everybody has their own truth. Everybody has their own belief, and everybody does. Everybody has their own truth, and everybody has their own belief, and everybody has a butt, and everybody has a two eye. Well, everybody have two eyes. Anyway, my point is everybody believes in something, and you have to believe in something or you'll fall for anything. But there's only one truth. It only happened one way. Everybody's got different things they believe in. It doesn't mean that their belief is correct in what happened. I mean, you know what I mean? It's correct for anybody to believe in good. It's correct for anybody to fight against evil. It's correct for you to teach your children the right way. It's correct for you to live your life a certain way. But there's only one truth. And when people talk about, different things in the world right now, we live in a world that's full of lies. We live in a world where you can get on social media and be seen around the world, not just in the neighborhood, not just around town, not just in your state or in your country. You can be seen around the world, and you can say pretty much whatever you want on there. Even on the YouTube channels now, when you upload videos to YouTube, they have an extra question in there now. And the question is anything in this video that you're about to post not true? Does it depict people doing things that they didn't really do? And if you check that box, it's okay to upload the video anyway. And nobody sees that disclaimer before they watch the video. Nobody knows that you were lying to begin with. They don't know that because they aren't on the back end of the video. All they see is the video, and you can believe it or not. You know, that's the whole saying, believe it or not. They used to have a show called Ripley's, Believe It or Not. They're going to show you something. If you believe it, that's up to you. And if you don't, that's up to you too. So what we're doing here is we're searching for the truth, first of all. That's number one. We're searching for the truth. And once we find the truth, we want to make sure that all of us have found the truth. All of us understand that this is the truth. And this is where you want it. And this is the way this person wants it. But somewhere in between lies the truth. And so once we find the truth, then we're going to apply that truth to our lives so that we're secure in the teachings of God and we understand the message that God has given us. And then once we understand, we can spread out and spread that message to everybody, because people are going to be confused. People are going to be, they're not going to understand. They're going to wonder why they've been lied to for thousands of years. They're going to wonder why these people took advantage of them and misled them. They've been hoodwinked. They've been bamboozled. They've been led astray. They've been taken for a ride. They've been glazed like a donut. And we're the ones that are going to be able to wipe some of that glaze off their eyes and take some of that stiffness out of being bamboozled and give them a little more clarity to that misunderstanding and a little more guidance to that misunderstanding and the chaos that has been created by the non-truths that they've been told and taught to believe, and the false prophets that they have followed all this time. We're going to be able to add some substance to that, give them something to hold on to, give them something to bite down on, because they're going to be lost. They're going to be hurt. A lot of them going to be hurt. Tears in their eyes, pain in their heart, just confusion in their mind, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to tell their children what to do. What do they do now? Which way do they go now? All their lives they believe this. Now they know for sure it's a lie. Where's the truth? Who's not lying? Who's telling the truth? Oh no, what do I do now? You wait on the Lord and be of good courage. And be of good courage means you do the best you can while you're waiting on the Lord, but you pray to God. And when we pray to God, we want to make sure that we've got these people praying to a specific God. We're praying to the Lord God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We have Christians now in this world that they say they're following Jesus. They're watching Jesus. They're listening to Jesus. They're trying to, become ingrained in the teachings of Jesus, but they're not following him. To me, and maybe this is just me, when you follow somebody, you really follow them. And I use this analogy all the time when I talk about this. If you're following Jesus, you got to imagine this in your mind, envision this in your mind while I'm explaining to you, so you get the picture of what I'm talking about while I'm explaining this. You picture Jesus is at the front of the line. There's a million people behind him, and they're walking in single file behind Jesus, and they're following him every step of the way. And when I was a little boy, I grew up on military bases, and especially when we went to the Army base, I got the opportunity to go to some of these boot camps and watch these drill sergeants, train these troops, because they were on their way to Vietnam. They were getting ready to go fight a battle. And your left, right, left, right. And when the sergeant would give the cadence, that's when the troops would step. Left foot, right foot, about face, forward march. when you're following somebody, that's what you have to do. You have to follow them like that. If you're following Jesus and he steps in a mud puddle, you better step in that mud puddle too, because you don't know what that mud puddle did for him. If he didn't turn around and say, hey, don't step in that mud puddle, you better step on it too, because maybe the next thing he did was walked on water. And when you tried to follow him, you sunk down to the bottom because you didn't step in that mud puddle and get that experience. Whatever it did for him, it's going to do for you too. That's why he showed you that. So if he's showing you something and you don't do it, that's your fault because he showed you. So when you're following Jesus, you got to follow him to the Passover. You have to follow him through Rosh Hashanah. You have to follow him through the holy days and Hanukkah. You have to follow him to church on Saturday. God said, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. There's little clues in all the scripture and a little word that God will put in there, like in Genesis when he created mankind, male and female, and he said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Anybody ever wonder why that replenish word is in there? We all know what replenish means. And so why did he put replenish the earth? Why did he put remember the Sabbath? Because he knew that there were going to be some people that came along that tried to get you to forget when the Sabbath was. They had some people, and even though we go by their calendar that has Saturday as the seventh day, and we see in the Bible that God rested on the seventh day and called it the most holy of days, they still go to church on Sunday. How does that work? Anyway, I'm not here to bash anybody's traditions. I'm not here to bash anybody's religion. I'm here to make sure that we as a congregation are on the same page, and we as a people are following what God has intended for us. You know, when we come to this world, the truth is we come here alone. And when we leave this world, truth is we're going to leave alone. And you know, you may be in say for instance, you're in an accident, plane crash, everybody died. That last walk through the underworld, you're going to walk that walk by yourself. And all those people that were with you when that happened, they aren't going to be with you on that journey. You're going to be there by yourself. But the good news in between all this is that while you're here, you have somebody to walk through this with you. While you're here, you have somebody to guide you down this path. While you're here, you have somebody to shine the light for you. While you're here, you have instructions on what you're supposed to do. While you're here, you have an opportunity to have an understanding about the purpose and the mission and the journey of why you were brought here in the first place. And while you're here, you have the choice, the free will on whether you're going to do any of this or not. It's up to you. Can't nobody make you do it. Can't nobody force you to do nothing. Some people come in this world and they decide, I ain't going to church. I ain't going to follow God. There ain't no God. You know, it's a very compelling argument right now that people are providing to young people to convince them that there is no God. That's all something that somebody made up because they were feeling hopeless and they needed something to believe in, something to strengthen their hearts and carry them through. And they made this stuff up because it sounded good. Well, that's a compelling argument for somebody who hasn't had the experience that most of us have. But I know these people that are on this phone call right now, and I know some of them better than others, but I know enough about every one of these people on this phone call that we have all had a direct experience that involved God. And at that point, when we were delivered, we knew who delivered us. So, excuse me. Can you give me some water? There are a lot of people out there, they've had the experience, but they didn't realize they didn't comprehend what the experience was about. Sometimes God will send you a dream. You don't know why you had that dream. God will send you a vision. You don't know why you had that vision. God will send you a complete stranger that'll say something to you that just sticks with you. And sometimes people, just kind of blow it off and forget about it. Hold on, give me 1 second. Thank you. Sometimes people don't understand why they got that message. They don't understand what the message is for. That's where this part that we do comes in. That's where we have to strengthen our spirit to get closer to God so that the frequency becomes more clear. It's like when you're the old radios that we used to have had the little tuner on them. They didn't have the auto scan and all that where it just goes to the next station. You had to kind of tune in on the frequency, and TVs used to be like that too. They had a button on there where you could adjust the picture and you could adjust the sound and the clarity of the picture and all that stuff. And they still have things on there, but they're way higher tech. But they had a thing on there where before, if you didn't put this vertical hold on there, the picture would just keep flipping up and you couldn't really see what's going on. If you didn't put the contrast on there, the color scheme was really bad and you couldn't really see the picture or anything. And that's kind of how these messages are that God sends us. If you don't have your frequency buttons tuned in, then you aren't going to get a clear message. You're just going to get bits and pieces, and it might be a bunch of gargled mumbo jumbo that you didn't even understand. And a lot of times, every night when people go to sleep, when you go into REM sleep, you have a dream. And you may not remember it when you wake up, but you had one. And so I think part of getting in the frequency with God is to receive those messages in your sleep as well. Because God will send you a message in your sleep that will wake up and change your life for you. And sometimes people get the message and they don't apply the message. And all this time, it's like I saw a commercial one time about a guy that he purchased a lottery ticket and he won. And so instead of running down there and collecting his money, he was just sitting around at the house watching TV, kind of laying on the couch and eating some Cheetos. And his friend came over and said, "Hey man, you just won the lottery. We'll get down there and get you. Yeah, I'll get around to it. Pretty soon. I'll just, eventually." He just didn't care. And some people go through life like that. They get messages and they get, information and they don't apply it. They don't care. It doesn't really mean anything to them. And it reminds me of the children of Israel that actually saw God do these things. They were there in Egypt when God brought these plagues. They were there in Egypt when that death angel came over and killed all of the Egyptian firstborn and none of the Hebrew were harmed. I'm talking about this death angel killed firstborn animals and everything. I mean, it was deep. And they saw that. And they saw when they were trapped at the shores of the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army was coming. They saw God part those waters and they walked through on dry land and over to the other side, and they saw the ocean close back up on Pharaoh's army and drown every one of them. Yet inside of 30, 40 days marching through that desert, they was bad-mouthing God and talking mess, talking about they wanted to go back to Egypt and all that stupid stuff. And they saw that. They saw that manna rain out of the sky to feed them. They saw that water come out of that rock in the middle of the desert. They saw that pillar in the daytime, that fire in night. They saw that lit tent at the top of that mountain when Moses went up there. They saw him come down with the diadem of glory on his face in the 10 Commandments. They witnessed all that, and they still acted up. So we can't be those stiff-necked people. We don't, that was back, that was, when that happened, that was about 3,500 years ago. That was a long time. So between now and then, people had a long time to act up, screw up, decide, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, nilly-willy. Maybe I'm going to do it, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'll go, maybe should I stay or should I go now? They make songs about that. But look, time's running out. It's showtime. It ain't time to play. And I'll tell you something else. If you really pay attention to what's going on and you really follow the information that God has provided for us and you really know the truth about where this is all going, you know where we are right now. And that's what I mean by the title of this sermon, The Reason for the Season. Things are happening fast now. The world is spinning faster. Time is moving faster. Things are happening at an alarming rate. The devil is all out in the open now. He's working overtime. He's grabbing these kids. He doesn't need us anymore. The ones that are ingrained with God, oh, well, they're going to be dead pretty soon. The other ones that got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, he's got information for you that's going to knock both feet out of the water. The ones that don't know what's going on and aren't prepared for what they're about to see, boy, are they in for a ride. And the devil is after the children. If you control the children, you control the future. If you control the future, you control the world. Bottom line, game over. It's done. If we don't teach these children what's happening, pretty soon everybody is going to believe the lie and there'll be no more truth. So, if you don't believe me, just look around. Symbolism is everywhere. Everybody's got some symbolism in their videos. It used to be, excuse me, this stuff was really subtle. And it was kind of hidden from plain view. You'd have little subliminal messaging on the TV that would flash something for a millisecond. And that was etched in your brain. And even though you don't really remember seeing it, it's like a snapshot. Your eyes caught that. And everything your eyes our brain is amazing, way more amazing than any of these smartphones or computers. That our brain is amazing. And you see something for a millisecond, you don't have to push a button to take a Snapchat. You don't have to do that. Your brain saw it, it's recorded. And even you don't remember seeing it, but the memory is there and it's in your brain and it's part of your subliminal thought process. Now, the symbolism is all out in the open. It's in the logo for a company. It's in the T-shirts and ball caps that they're selling. It's in, the theme, the background that an entertainer has while they're singing a song or making a video. It's in the little symbols that they make with their hands and stuff like that. Everything's labeled demon or a devil or something from hell. Or, it's all out in the open. Now, it used to be a time where people wouldn't even speak those kind of things in public. And there was no way they were going to wear something to represent that in public. People had morals and standards and values. And those morals and standards and values are starting to fall by the wayside and slip into the gutter. And so we have to really pay attention to what our children are being exposed to. The children are our future. And then the children's for the future of the devil too. And that's where the battle is. We think the battle is in saving ourselves. Well, that's important so we can teach the right thing to the children. But our ship has sailed as far as the devil's concerned. He don't want us. He wants our kids. So we have to make sure that the ones that are still in our presence and still in our keeping, on our watch, we have to make sure that we listen to what they're listening to. We watch what they're watching. We listen very carefully to what they have to say. The worst thing you can do to your child is have them expressing how they feel and you're blowing that off. They're telling you what they heard and you don't have time to hear it. You got to listen to all that stuff because they're basing and forming their personality and who they're going to be based on the information that they're receiving. And when they get to a certain point, they aren't just receiving information from you. They're receiving information from that outside world that they get exposed to every day. And it comes a point where the outside world sees your child more than you do. And the outside world has more input into this child shaping and forming of who they're going to be more than you do. And so we have to keep a balance there, and at least we have to keep track of what the outside world is showing these children, because we have to make sure that they see the truth for what it is. And that is going to take us leading by example. You know, kids are very intelligent, and even though at a very young age they can tell that when somebody is telling them something that they aren't doing themselves, they see the inconsistency. But you know, children are innocent, and children are they're shy, and they're, you know, they want to be nice, you know, and they want to be respectful, and so they don't want to call you out until they get a little older and it becomes obvious that you aren't doing what you said you're supposed to do. You aren't doing what you told them they should do. And these other people out there are keeping it real with them because they're telling them to do evil stuff that they're doing too. And so that makes a difference to somebody that's learning, is that the people that are telling them what to do are applying those things in their own life, and they can see the results that are coming from what that person is telling them they should do. So if you're a parent and you're telling your child to do the right thing, you should be doing the right thing too, because that child is smart enough to see that you're a hypocrite. And it takes a long time. You know, they got to go through, you know, at least a little bit of elementary school to be able to spell hypocrite. But everybody knows what a hypocrite is. Everybody knows something that's fake. Everybody knows what a liar is. And quite frankly, even though you love your child and you say to yourself, you say, oh, I'd never lie to my child. If you tell them to do something that you aren't doing, you're lying to them. And maybe if you look at it like that, then it'll give you more of a sense of urgency to not lie to them. And when I say this, I'm not talking to anybody that's on this phone. I'm not talking to anybody that's on this call, because I know my people. I know what y'all are about. I'm talking to the hopefully many people that may see this video, that may look at this video and try to get some type of support, you know, some type of honest information that is going to help them through what they're going through. And that's probably our biggest common problem that we share around the world, is what are we going to do about our children? How are we going to help our children? Everybody wants to help their children. And so it's going to come from helping yourself. You can do better by your children when you do better by yourself. And it goes back to that golden rule. And Charlotte read it in the Shema, you know, love the Lord with all your heart and treat your neighbors as you treat yourself. And so treating your neighbor as you treat yourself becomes a difficult task when you're not treating yourself properly. You don't have a healthy relationship with yourself. And how can you hope to have a healthy relationship with somebody else and you aren't even doing it with yourself? How can you hope to teach your children the right thing when you're not doing the right thing? How can you show your child the road to salvation if you don't know the name of the road and how to get there? You see what I mean? So sometimes it takes a village to raise a child. And I was talking to my son about this yesterday, about how community needs to be on the same page. Community needs to be listening to the same frequency. Community needs to be going through the same process. Community needs to have the same solutions. Community needs to use the same building blocks. Community needs to be applying the same application and technique. Community needs to be on the same page. We need to be doing the same thing. And that's what we talked about, or we listened to in the Bible. Not before we got to Job, I forgot what chapter it was. We talked, it was a while ago, but they were talking about the people in the community were going through a lot of divorce, and the families were breaking up because people had married other people that didn't believe spiritually the same as they did. And even though it doesn't seem like a big deal because you love that person and you got feelings for that person and that person loves you, and on a daily basis, you know, under normal circumstances, you don't have any reason to think that, they're going to lie to you or be unfaithful to you or anything like that. It's a pretty good relationship. But then when it comes down to the spirituality and raising the kids and who you pray to, then the lines are drawn. And once that line is drawn, that means that there's a separation in your family and in your community. And once there's a separation in the family or community, it starts to break down the solidity of the structure of what you built. It all starts to fall apart because it's moving in different directions. It's like those buildings that they make earthquake proof. And they all shake the same way, and they've got a balance to them to where they're not going to fall over. But if you've got a building that's shaking one way and pulling another direction, it's going to pull apart and it's going to fall apart eventually. And some buildings are going to take a little bit longer to fall than others, but eventually at the end of the day, that building is going to fall and you're going to have some casualties and you're going to have to rebuild that structure in order to have the new structure survive. You're going to have to rebuild. And so what we should do and what we're doing is we don't have to rebuild because we're all on the same page. We don't have to restructure anything because we're all moving in the same direction. And if we keep moving in that direction, I'm telling you, sure as I'm standing here or sitting here talking to you right now, verily, just like Jesus, verily I say to you that the day is coming soon where people are going to see how solid their structure is. People are going to see whether they can weather this storm or not. People are going to see if what they built is going to stand up to what's coming. It's like 3 Little Pigs. If you built that house out of straw, it's going to get blown away. If you built the house out of wood, it's going to burn down. You got to build a solid brick, concrete, and steel structure that doesn't give, doesn't bend, it flexes a little bit, but it flexes with the flow. It goes with the flow. It moves with the motion. It rocks to the beat. You got to have it moving and grooving. And you know what I mean? It's got to be able to weather the storm. And so I don't want to 37 minutes. I'm sorry. I do this to you guys all the time. And I don't, like I said before, I want to say, I don't write this stuff down. I think about it during the service and it comes to me, the message that God wants me to say today. And so I open my mouth and this stuff starts coming out. And sometimes I have to catch myself and shift gears and move to the next thing because I'll be sitting here talking all day about this over and over and over again. And I want to try to say things in a different manner. And I'm giving the same message, but I'm saying it a little different because sometimes people don't get it the first time. Just like that scripture I read, sometimes God will send man a message through his dream or through a vision or through an experience. And man doesn't get it always the first time. If I say it 3 or 4 or 5 different ways, the same thing, now 3 or 4 people got it because they didn't get it the first way. And the second person didn't understand what I said the second time, but they did the first time. And the third person, it took 5 times and they understood it the last time. So that's all I want is people to understand where I'm coming from, because I'm coming from a place of truth and honesty. And this is a message. This is truly a message from the Lord. It's not a message just from Howard. Howard didn't write this down. Howard didn't rehearse this. Howard didn't make this up. God said this through Howard to you. And I appreciate everybody listening as long as they can, because sometimes, it's a multiple message. And different people got different parts, and different parts are more important to different people than they were to the other people because that touched on what they're going through. So I just want to ask everybody that when we go out there, during the course of the week, live your life, helping people. Live your life, listen for strangers that may approach you, because the best messages come from the strangest places. And it doesn't mean that, you have to run around, hugging homeless people and letting people into your car and all that kind of stuff. But every now and then you'll be somewhere and a stranger will come to you and approach you, and it'll be a pleasant conversation, but just listen to what they have to say. And I say it all the time. I watch these videos on YouTube and TikTok and all that, and I may watch somebody that says they know what they're talking about, and they've got a message that includes 25 different points, of light that they're making, and 23 of them sounded crazy, but 2 of them didn't. So you never know where you're going to get that message from that's going to take you to the next level. So let's pay attention to what people say to you, and pay attention to the situations that you find yourself witnessing, because God is going to bring people in front of us, especially when he knows that we're secure in what we're doing and we're confident in what we believe and understand, and we've turned that knowledge into actual wisdom. God is going to bring people in front of us to help. And I said this before, and I want to mention this again. Everybody doesn't get a fair start. Some people are born with more than others in different departments. Some people are born with better health. Some people are born with better wealth. Some people, are born with, better environment. You know what I mean? But God is going to ask everybody the same question. I promise you, when you get there, he's going to ask everybody one question that fits all. It's a one size fits all question. What did you do with what you were given? Remember that. What did you do with what you were given? If I had you be born into a rich family, did you help those people that came in front of you? Or did you step on their heads and walk the other way and tell them they weren't good enough? If I made you poor and you struggled, did you learn from those experiences and do the best you can? Or did you step on people's heads to get what you think you needed and didn't care about what it did to somebody else as long as it did something for you? What did you do with what you were given? If I gave you some emotional and health problems, along the way, did you kill yourself and take you out? Or did you ride it out and see what was next? What did you do with what you were given? There's a reason for the season. I just want everybody to stay conscious about this and keep your eyes open and pay attention, because there's more to come. And the wider our eyes are open, the more we'll be able to see in our direct vision and our peripheral vision and anywhere that our eyes can pick up what's going on. And like I said, our brain is a superconductor, and all our eyes have to do is catch a glimpse of it. And if we don't remember it, we recorded that information, and we're able to retrieve it if we try to retrieve it properly. It's there. So don't keep your eyes wide open, and let's not miss anything, and let's make sure that we're on the same page so we're prepared for the task that's going to be at hand. As Church of God and Saints of Christ, along with us, to pray for everybody out there, because the world is upside down, and those people need the prayer way more than we do. We're blessed already. Everybody on this phone is getting blessed. I promise you. If you woke up and we're having this conversation, it's a blessing. So as Church of God, Saints of Christ, along with us, please pray for everybody out there, because they need it. Amen.